platform.
Well, a very lovely good morning. Thank you for sticking with us here on BTM Television, and that is the Daybreak. As we do break for you the biggest matters in the state, the biggest matters of contention in the country. And as I promised earlier on, we'll be dissecting the anti-gay bill 2023, which was just referred back to Parliament by the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for review by the August House so that they can amend here and there. And of course, according to reports, this was on the advice of the Attorney General, that is Jackson Kafuzi, who advised the President not to assent to this bill, but then, rather refer it back to the August House for referral. And we'll be seeing how the, events will be unfolding when it comes to this bill. Now, to dissect all the nitty-gritties of this bill, and when I say dissect, it is really dissect like they say in science. I'm privileged to host one of my lecturers. That is when I was at law school, and that is none other than Counsel Robert Lutalo. Thank you, sir, for making time for us.
You're most welcome. Thank you. My pleasure to be here at BTM TV. Good morning to our dear viewers. I look forward to an interactive session as we dissect, as you put it, the bill of anti-homosexuality. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, Counsel, I can see you have the bill in your hands, and let us dive into that bill. The way you're seeing it, first of all, what is your legal opinion when it comes to the anti-gay bill 2023?
Okay, I thank you so much, my brother, for this opportunity to appear on this national television. But maybe before we go into the bill, did the rain reach your place?
It did
the
reach
rain
my
of
place.
Last night?
It did reach my place, and when you look at the traffic, that just like you witnessed at Mawanda, it is quite crazy.
Oh man, it was too much. Because we've been seeing these things on Al Jazeera and CNN. What goes on in America and these different states, when the storm comes when storms come up. And so I was wondering, okay, is this the time for Uganda? And recently, I think it was Malawi or Mozambique in Africa, there was something. So, it hit me hard. I said, okay, maybe now this is a real climate change now, and Uganda perhaps is our time. And with all these things that are happening, the earthquakes in Syria and Turkey the other day, and many people lost lives.
Losing lives, yeah.
This was so bad. So maybe for guys traveling today, please, you have to be considerate of people on borders and the pedestrians.
They really need to be considerate because borders
the roads
are
must
one
be
of the
wide.
fastest means in Kampala, and the people even using them could be the important people, the leaders. Even us, I personally used the border.
All of us, all of us. And we know with all these potholes. If you're not considerate, then somebody will get office data today.
That's true.
The other thing, we want to send our strong sympathies to the people of Sudan. What's going on in Sudan is really not good. The war. We pray that God prevails and the situation comes back to normal.
Well, Counsel, let's dive into those things
Correct.
as we finish the discussion.
Absolutely.
But let's internalize.
Yeah.
this.
Now, talking about the homosexuality, bill and behavior generally. First and foremost, I think we need to appreciate what this thing they call homosexuality. The simple definition of the word is to have sexual relations against the order of nature. We all know biblically and legally in our statutes that the order of nature of sexual relations is where a man relates with a woman, just to be straight, straight, but not man to man or woman to woman, you know. And when you look at our penal code, the penal code of Uganda, I think around section 377, it provides for the offense of non-natural offenses. And that offense has been defined to mean attempting to have carnal knowledge of person against the order of nature. So meaning that any man who attempts or who has carnal knowledge of a fellow man has had carnal knowledge against the order of nature. Now, that's why there has been some arguments in such sections of society, and which apparently I belong to that you know, kind of thinking, that perhaps this new law is not necessary. It's not relevant.
Why?
Because you already have a law prohibiting manners, behaviors of this nature. Before we go to the relevances and the irrelevances.
According to Parliament, they say that you know, the intention of you know, this new law is to, you know, prescribe the punishment of the people that are found to be in the act of unnatural, you know, character or behavior.
Yes.
Doesn't this create the necessity for the law?
Well, the section I just cited, section 377, is the section of the penal code. The penal code is the principal penal law of this country. So definitely it prescribes a punishment for any behavior of that nature. So the punishment is there. And you know, if Mr. Basalirwa, you know, is a senior lawyer, senior counsel, Honorable Asman Basalirwa, if he felt that probably the punishment in that law is not enough and all that, probably the most appropriate remedy would have been to amend that law and strengthen it, as opposed to bringing a new law. You know, this is too costly for rather a simple thing that is already taken care of in another legislation. I've seen, of course, somewhere in this new law, they attempt to repeal section 377. But you know, why repeal the section? Instead, I think it would have been cheaper and probably more convenient, and you know, saves a lot of things if you only amended, if there is need anyway. You know, if I ask you today to show me one person who engages in this practice, I don't know about you, but I know none. You see? Now, that takes us now to even the relevance of the law. Really, a law to regulate sexual behaviors.
Council, if I can just interject in there. Now, do you think that this legislation is, you know, originally based on protecting culture, or there is a dire need for legislating when it comes to matters of homosexuality?
Well, my honest opinion is that we live in a country which has a lot of problems. We live in a country with so many challenges that every coin in terms of resources matters where and how you use that coin. If you now go to Parliament and ask resources that have been invested so far in discussing this bill to where it is, you'll be shocked. I'm sure the money is in billions of shillings. Now, someone would ask, and this is a question I like to ask. If we look at the problems of our country and our priorities as a nation, is homosexuality one of them?
Council, according to the arguments of, you know, I would base it, you know, countrywide, basing from the religious leaders, basing to the members of parliament, basing to, you know, even other individuals that have, you know, a different opinion, just like the one you're giving us. They say it is necessary because this is a vice that is continuously eating up the nation, and this has infiltrated into schools where our children, you know, are being nurtured. Doesn't this create the necessity?
You know there is a problem, and especially with social media, the world of social media that we live in today. that, you know, you can easily popularize an otherwise unpopular thing or behavior. You've seen people we hardly know about on social media who become instant celebrities. Because somebody made you know, you call them memes or memes?
Memes,
yeah. And, you know, they makes it funny faces, and then instantly he has 1 million followers. And now, we need to be careful. I've just told you, I'm over 40 years as I speak now. And I'm telling you that I know no man or woman who is a homosexual, either lesbian or gay. I know no one. What does that show you? But I know a lot of thieves and a lot of corrupt people, including the Mavati, the Mavati scandal. I know some of them are my friends. If you ask me murderers, I know a lot of people have murdered. If you ask me rapists, I know, because I mean, as a lawyer, I've tried a lot of cases. Now, the thing is, this, are you sure by overhyping this homosexuality thing and, you know, talking about it, legislating about it, you know, giving all these outrageous, you know, punishments as they are proposed in the law, are you sure you're not popularizing the unknown? Because for me, my thinking is, this is, well, the habit may be there. I'm not even sure at what percentage or in terms of statistics. But I think the way we are over-talking about, we are hyping it. And, you know, we are causing people to get anxious. We are causing people to, you know, that's why sometimes people say, you know, in parenting, when you bring up a child, don't be extremely restrictive. You know, oh, don't watch this channel. For example, I have a 4-year-old who normally hides the remote from me, and, you know, he likes to take over control of the television. But I let him, and, you know, he knows how to turn around things. Now, one of the principles of parenting, if I get that remote and I tell my son, don't watch this channel, this is not, now you're going to cause this guy to become inquisitive. Well, why doesn't, you know, Daddy wants me to watch this channel? Now, when you're not around, that's when now he wants to try and open it up and say exactly what you're hiding from him. Now, my feeling is that this overhyping and over-talking about this subtle or otherwise, you know, negligible issue in our society, we are rather doing a disservice of promoting this thing, even to people who did not know about it. We are, you know, you know the way Stephen talked about, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. God knows where this money is.
When you look at the girl community, the LGBTQ community, do these people even have rights? You know, looking at the Constitution, that is chapter 4, and, you know, in relation to what is currently going on, do the gay people have rights?
That's a very interesting question. You know, one of the tenets of good law is that law must not be discriminative. The law must not target sections of community. And the law must be straight and, you know, clear and easy to interpret for everybody. Now, we have issues with this law, exactly. That's the important thing where I have problem with this law. One of them is that, yes, this law is discriminative in as far as it's targeting people of a certain sexual orientation. Being of, and which is not a crime. Let me tell you, my brother, attempting to regulate sexual behaviors, other than the normal that we know, the traditional offenses of rape, you know, defilement, because, you know, what is rape? Having kind of knowledge of a woman against her consent or will. What's defilement? You know, somebody of underage. Now, those are true criminal behaviors. Because you have no reason why you should force somebody into a sexual, you know, act or whatever. You have nobody has justification to force. But you see, and you know, those are easy to manage. Because the victim of rape is going to run to police and report. This gentleman forced himself on me. The victim of defilement, usually these young kids, she's going to go home and the mother or the parent will not notice that probably this girl is not walking comfortably, and is going to ask her, what's the problem? And the girl is going to reveal what happened. Or the mother is going to see the girl with the 1,000 shillings or a few coins in the bag and say, but I didn't give you this money. How did the money come about? Now, and the girl is going to narrate a story. On my way from school, blah, 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 blah. Now, the difference with this adult behavior is that you have behavior of two consenting adults to indulge. The same way people go and drink. There is a video doing rounds on social media right now of this young man who drank God knows how many liters of whatever he took and fell in a ditch full of water. You've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
He's walking, crossing the road. Now, this man, why is he not being arrested? Because, especially if the drinking is not involuntary, it's voluntary, and you've drunk yourself to that status, then people can just look on and probably play you get home.
Maybe
now, my question is, kindly as you come in, where you have two consenting adults, before I come to whether it's a right or not, we'll talk about chapter 4, but I want to start here. Where you have two consenting adults agreeing to indulge themselves in the way they indulge, and in privacy. Because me and you hardly know what goes on people's bedrooms behind closed doors. I've argued before that even for properly married, couples of man and woman, they practice these sexual behaviors, which the law now is trying to prohibit. Because now my question is, if you're prohibiting this, say man to man, how about man to woman? Man to woman having, sexual behavior against the order of nature. Because we all know the order of nature. The president has ever talked about it. You remember when the president said the address of the mouth?
Yeah.
The address of this. And he said, we know the purposes of, all the way how God created man.
The mouth is for eating and whatever. But Council, if I can rephrase this question.
Please.
Should, the acts of homosexuality be criminalized in Uganda?
There is no justification to do that. That's what I'm talking about. And going, first of all, the ambiguity that comes with for example, the way this law is trying to frame and phrase all these criminal behaviors is terrible. But then two, where the law becomes discriminative, that's another thing. Then three, where you have people consenting to an act, because then you're going to have a problem on even finding a victim. I mean, two ladies, two men have agreed on something, they cross themselves in their house, and they indulge it the way they indulge. So who do you expect to report? Now, the law must not be in futility. Parliament is too busy to just pass laws for the sake of passing. And that's the problem I'm seeing with some of these our members of parliament here. They are playing to the gallery. They are playing on the psychology of their voters, the religious instincts, because the Bible says. So the members of parliament go on TV and they talk because they want their people to see and therefore give them votes. Now, but otherwise they are not discussing this thing genuinely and logically.
Now, Council, let's look at the issue as to why this bill is being pushed more and more. We've seen, these acts infiltrating into, our children.
Yeah.
We've seen people recruiting, young children, and this now differs from the two consenting adults, and I think this is also provided for in the act, there where it talks about aggravated defilement of homosexuality. Now, how can we go about the matters of our children being recruited and our children being, put into this? Because we've seen books that, are talking about the acts of homosexuality.
Well, no, that's where the problem is. And to that extent, I agree on criminalizing the promotion. Because, I mean, we're adults, but we didn't study about sex. Things come, things come natural as you grow. Somebody, I think, I read somewhere an experiment which was done in, I think, one of these countries, where they locked up two babies. From day one, they didn't see nobody. They locked up a boy and a girl. They locked them, up, and they would come feed them and go and, give them food through. They didn't see anybody up to when they're adults, and only to find the girl was pregnant. So the experiment, I think, was to staying, you know, how people learn sexual behaviors, whether it's a learned thing, whether it's a natural thing, and you know, it comes. Now, when it comes to promotion, I have a problem with that. 2, when it comes to recruitment, why recruit? What are you recruiting people to? This is not employment. We know recruitment and employment. Now, somebody who is engaged in recruitment, I think that one is going now overboard. And you know, who are you recruiting? If you're recruiting adults, that we can have a different conversation. But you know, now if you're recruiting children into this behavior, because indeed you are right, I've seen certain very disturbing videos and images on social media, which is quite problematic now. For those who are at that extent, in as far as promotion and recruitment of children, involvement of children in this, that is criminal. No doubt about that. Anybody going to do that, I support the punishment given. Because, I mean, you're killing the generation. I mean, even if you are teaching these young children the proper, you know, sexual behaviors. No, why? These people are vulnerable. They need to be protected. You've seen recently one of the members of parliament who confessed that he was a virgin until his day of marriage. My friend, and you know, he's very proud of it. I can even mention his name. He's the gentleman of Nakawa. Because he's the one who mentioned it. Honorable Joel Sonyen. Now, when you go to these universities, a lot of these people are actually virgins. They are innocent as far as sexual behavior is concerned. Until a certain level, maybe after university, and you know, people now, they think they are mature. Now, when you want to go to schools, and now you start, you know, teaching people sexual behaviors, and moreover, you know, the contrary to, you know, to nature. No, then I think that you're going against the law, and the law should deal with it now, Council, to that extent.
Now, Council, you say that you know, the bill in the first place is you know, a replica of Section 377 of the Penal Code Act of Uganda, which does criminalize, you know, unnatural acts by people. But then when it comes to, you know, promotion in children, it is something that should be prohibited.
Absolutely.
So where can the law apply to, you know, strike a balance between, you know, not overstepping on the rights of the gay community and also, you know, protecting the young children? Correct.
Now, again, as I come to that very thing, but one other thing I wanted to mention, my problem against this law, you know, enforceability. Like I said, Parliament must not pass a law for the sake of passing it, but the law must be easy to enforce, amongst other tenets of good law. Now, when you look at enforceability of this law, in as far as consent adults are concerned, is a problem. Now, let me come to your question. Now, when it comes to where do you draw the line? Like I've said, anybody found doing the so-called recruitment of children, I want to be very specific, and you know, promotion among children, primary schools. I've heard of some schools, I want to mention names because I don't know whether it's all known, but I've heard of some schools where these books are talking about have been in the libraries. Now, that's a problem. First of all, where do these books come from? Because if anybody is in Uganda and printing books, you know, of homosexuality or promotion, that person should be dealt with in accordance with the law. But you see, even then, so you see, it's a question of what behavior are we criminalizing? Can we can we, you know, be specific? Are we together, my brother? So, if the law, and you know, we're again taking you back to Section 377, and you're not saying there is no need for another law, probably, you know, we can amend. Because now you can amend Section 377 and introduce these other elements which are not there in that section. So 377A, you say promotion of, you know, unnatural offenses. And you say anybody, you know, found promoting unnatural offenses among schools, among children, recruiting, commits an offense, a misdemeanor, and is liable to so much upon conviction. That doesn't call for a new law.
Now, Council, this law has attracted a lot of, you know, public sentiments. You know, in Uganda, just like you've seen several people criticize the passing of this law. We've seen the international scene also, you know, a lot on,
we
passing
made
of this
news,
bill.
yeah.
And I've seen, when the president didn't assent to it, it also, did make more news.
Yeah.
How does this affect Uganda legally on the international scene?
Now, that takes me to the thing of whether homosexual behavior is a right or not a right, as you rightly put it. When you look at rights, I think this chapter 4 of our Constitution, I think starting from around Article 20. Going forward, I think Article 20 defines a human right as an inherent and not given right. It's a right you're born with. And then somewhere, I think one of those sections, articles 39 or what, there's an article freedom to associate, freedom of this, freedom of that. And then I think around Article 23 or something where it talks about freedom from discrimination and
I think it is 22.
22 and ill treatment. Now, when you look at the behavior of homosexuality and what, this is a person's choice of living his life. The Constitution guarantees a right, and the other very critical and important right is the right to privacy. I think privacy is around Article 27 of the Constitution. The right to privacy. And for me, I think that's even the most threatened right in this law. Because you see, we've just talked about behavior among two consenting adults. By the way, I need to be very clear, the public and the viewers, and let people not misunderstand me. I'm only saying, in as far as there are two peoples involved of age, please let them be. My question is, talking about rights, how are you going to enforce this act without evading people's right to privacy?
There are those who have, publicly, assured that, they are proud to be gay. They are proud to be associating with LGBTQ, matters. And, this is also influencing onto...
No, when somebody comes on TV, like, Rutaro is on TV, and I say, oh, for me, my sexual orientation, and, is this. Well, that's who I am, and I'm not, what I talk about it. And after all, it's not even it's not criminal as far as you are concerned now. The criminal thing is the act. For example, when you go back to section 377, unnatural offenses is when you do the act. But no, talking about it, because now that would mean that even me who comes on TV and say no, people have their right to live their lives the way they want. That would mean that the same law can even come about. So you're not supposed to talk about it. Now, for me, where the problem is, there is no person, but even for natural, sexual relations, you hardly find people on the roadside, indulging themselves. This is a purely private matter, which people, being there, in their most privacy, in their houses, especially in their, and they indulge the way they want to indulge. Now, if police is going to act to arrest a gay gentleman, the only way I see is for police to come and break the door of the bedroom and get two gentlemen there and take. Now, how do you do that without violating the right to privacy, for example?
Counsel, just like you said, in Uganda, there are people that are identified as LGBTQ, the way they dress, the way they walk, and the way they associate in public. And this has been an area that has influenced largely. And this is the point that Parliament is, or one of the points Parliament is putting up front. How does the right of a person, which is influencing now on other people's rights, and also is deviating from the article in the Constitution that is in Chapter 4 that provides for the right to culture, protection of culture. And just like you said, the Penal Code 377, unnatural offense, unnatural, sexual relations.
Yeah.
Doesn't this, give Parliament, the preamble to, enact this?
No, you see, what is culture?
Culture is...
All these questions, we need to dissect them. I like the words you used in the first place, dissecting. Put the thing on table and get to the bottom of it. A culture is mandatory. You've heard of a case of, I forget this couple which was living in London. They have a Uganda of Indiga clan and they got married.
Oh, you mean this Namazi case?
What's that?
The Namazi case.
The Namazi case, absolutely. And then I think the clan head took them to court, in High Court in Kampala, and said these past people are of the same clan and they cannot get married. And even the father came and they testified against the daughter, marrying a man of the same clan. And they gave the case to a Muganda judge, I think to a Justice Muchivi, if I remember well. And the judge indeed decided for the clan and say, Kalichwale.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop these people from getting married. They went back to London. And I'm told they're still living together as husband and wife with children.
But that could be argued as out of the jurisdiction of Uganda.
Oh yeah, yes it is. But I mean, it goes to the right of the person and people's choices.
And now this
for me, that's where the thing is.
This brings me to section 13 of this exact bill, which is on prohibition of same-sex marriages. What happens to a couple that is legally married, same-sex, that is from maybe the UK, and then comes to the jurisdiction of Uganda where the activities are criminalized? What happens?
That's where the confusion is coming from. And you see, we live in no country lives as an island today. We all live in one global village. That's why we are here with these mobile phones and all the gadgets here. Somebody in Washington is now watching this program live. So we must, in our behaviors, in our laws, as a nation, as a community, because Uganda generally we are a community, the Ugandan community, we must be conscious of the people around us and their behaviors so that we don't seem to either isolate them or... Now, when you look at this developed world, and indeed, that's why we're talking about the problems that even this law has caused us so far. The other day when the presidents were declining, signing it, I think when he invited the NRM caucus at State House, he told them, fasten your belts and be ready, even for salary cuts.
This could cost
the moment this... Now, taking you back to the relevance of this, vis-a-vis the consequences of it. Because we are not an independent nation economically. We are independent politically, but economically, especially economically, we are not independent.
But
we are heavily reliant on donor funds. Now, the donors, being European Union, being United States of America, being, I don't know about China and where they fall in this confusion. And they're saying, no, let people have their rights. Don't curtail people's freedoms. Don't be, the dictator that, the modern society does not desire.
But Council, Uganda
that you ought to give attention. You cannot ignore.
How about the sovereignty of Uganda as a state?
Yeah, but you see, what I started with when I was making this point, I say, we live in a global village today. Yes, we are sovereign. We are a Ugandan community. But we live in and together with the societies around us. We are not an island. We are not like people who live in the Amazon. The other day I was watching Alizazela, and deep in Amazon there's a certain community there, and they know nothing. They know nothing outside their forest where they live. Now those ones can be special people. But you cannot say, me, I'm independent, I make my own decisions, so I don't care about the feelings of America, I don't care about the feelings of... You cannot afford that luxury. It will weigh heavily on this economy, and don't be surprised if our economy collapses the ground, just because of this law. And now for me, takes me back to the question of relevance. Is it worth it?
Council, when according to the arguments presented by the members of parliament, the religious factions in Uganda, recently we saw the Anglican Church, that is worldwide, convene in Rwanda, and they were trying to deviate themselves from the leader of the
Canterbury.
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 Yes.
England.
Now, doesn't that really, create the relevance of this law?
No, for me, again, actually, when I first went public, or, my views on this, it was after our Archbishop of Uganda came public against the Church of England and said Uganda would do, cut themselves. And I said, okay, whereas this may be your opinion as the bishop, but how about the opinions of the sheep that you shepherd in your church? Because you see, people of this nature belong to all sorts of communities. They are in the Catholic Church, they are in the Protestant Church, they are in mosques, they are everywhere. Now, if you as the bishop of the Ugandan diocese, you come and say, no, we don't, and yet one of your reverends or the followers, the Christian, the people of that faith, are actually part of the, the gay community. What message are you sending them?
But then the church is supposed
to... Are
you
discriminating them? Are you going to kill them? By the way, I was shocked recently. I met a gentleman who introduced himself to me as a reverend. And the gentleman had a very, very radical views on LGBT community. And was telling me now, if you don't pass this law, we are now going to go physical. These people will hunt them from their houses, spear them in public. It's okay. Now, let's see where we are going.
But this goes back to the protection of the culture.
Culture is voluntary association. Culture is not mandatory for every people. Not every Muganda dances the Chiganda dance. Now, when you find a Muganda dancing a Chitaguro of the Bachiga and Banyankole, that's what he loves. And you're not going to say, oh, you've gone against the culture, you cannot dance a Chichiga dance when you were Musoga. No, but that's what he wants to do. Now, culture is not forced on people. Culture is something that people must love. Nobody teaches Baganda to love Kabaka. Or Wasoga to love Chabazinga. It's natural in them. Now, even when you are... Now, the culture, by the way, the sexual culture, I don't know if we have a universal sexual culture. By the way, now talking about that specifically. Because I'm not so conversant with the sexual cultures and practices of the different tribes of this country. But I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if I learned that one of the tribes in Uganda, homosexuality is one of their cultures. And now, if that happened, are you going to say, okay, this culture is that's one. Two, even when I belong to a certain, ethnic grouping, I think Mama Saba, the ones who do Embalu, a lot of people have run away from it. It's okay, me, I don't like this. Yes, I'm Saba, I'm Mugisu, but the FGM, I think some communities also, somewhere.
The whole country is against...
The whole country is against FGM, but some cultures still hold it there and they do it. But somebody comes up and says, now, even when you have... Culture is not law. Culture is voluntary association of a certain belief and behavior and norm. So even if I belong to this culture which has a specific sexual orientation and practice and norm, it doesn't prohibit me from practicing a different norm. And I still belong to that culture.
Well, Council, if...
So I think, so my thinking, sorry, as I end that point, I think we are blowing this whole culture issue out of proportion. And especially by the politicians and for selfish political motives.
How is this selfish, yet it is meant to protect the young generation of the country and the image according to...
The selfishness is in a sense that they want to they are only looking for political gains through all this, by doing all by pushing these laws and blah blah. They're looking at political gain, but they're not genuine on the actual relevance of this law to society.
Council, if I can say something, how is it political gain yet, according to the words of the president, this could, inflict on their salaries? This could inflict, on them being, welcomed into the international community. How does this, become a political gain?
No, because the cultures we have, and you see, again, our cultures must be dynamic. We cannot live in a backward society, a culture of, because society evolves, okay? Society is not static. Where we are today, I don't know these phones came which day. If you remember
we had our capabilities and...
no, forget capability, again, that's a mobile phone. But I'm talking about mobile phones. When you Google the first mobile phone, especially in Uganda, you'll be shocked. In 2000, I think around 12, as early as that, I remember I was in Europe doing some studies. And then I think that's when WhatsApp came about. And I had known nothing about WhatsApp. And then my relatives in Uganda would, call me and say, calling on Skype. Now, Skype was the thing of the days. Say, but why not on WhatsApp? And say, what are you talking about? I didn't know what WhatsApp is. Now, when I get WhatsApp on phone, that's how society changes. Now, WhatsApp, you can't live without it. Now, even when you have culture, your culture must be dynamic. The culture should be adaptive to the new changes of society, the new winds of society.
Well, Council, as we conclude,
yes. So,
do you see the President, Joe Kaguta Museveni, finally assenting to the law?
No, the pressure. The pressure, what you call the cultural pressure, religious pressure, and political pressure. I think you'll sign it. Even when well aware that actually what he's signing is not right. What he's doing is not right. And I can predict to you right here and without fear of contradiction. The moment this law is signed, it's going to be shot down in the Constitutional Court of Uganda as being discriminative, as being unenforceable, as being a cake, as being, mention all these other rights that are being violated by this law. Okay. So in other words, the law is not necessary. You already have a law to take care of that. And two, adult sexual behavior, especially consensual sexual behavior of adults, cannot be moderated.
Well, Council, your part in short, as we finalize your part in short.
Absolutely. So for me, one, I'm very grateful that you gave me this opportunity, to come and talk about this subject. Now, I think my final words, I would appeal to the society. Yes, we are a very religious society. We are a very cultural society. But also don't forget, and this is true, I want to say this also without fear of, some of these elements of our behavior, societal behaviors, have kept us backward. And have kept us in poverty. We are a very poor nation for many reasons. And one of those reasons is our rigid religious beliefs, rigid cultural beliefs, among other things. Now, I think we are a society that evolves. We are not an island. If behavior, societal behavior is changing generally, we should have adaptive mechanisms of adapting to these behaviors. Of course, with the regulation where necessary and modifications. For example, anybody recruiting young children and promoting homosexuality in schools, primary schools, and that one's a criminal. Okay. And should be arrested in accordance with the laws. But where you have two consenting adults to live, to relate sexually in the manner they want, I think, as long as they're not disturbing anybody's peace, I think nobody should bother with those people.
Well, very many thanks, Council, for your thoughts. We do appreciate you accepting our invitation this early morning that was full of rain, coldness, jam, and whatsoever. Well, that is my lecturer. I'm proud to say he's my lecturer. He was my lecturer
Thank you.
when it came to law school, and he is Council Robert Lutaro. He did give us insights when it comes to the anti-gay bill that is the bill that was now referred back to Parliament for review, and we'll be hoping to see, the unfolding events if the law is going to be, adopted by the President, assented, and put into the laws of the nation. Well, we do appreciate your company, but have yourselves a lovely morning. See you tomorrow.
This is BTM. We transform.